Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session. My name is Umesh Mahajan. I run the Application Networking and Security Division at Broadcom. Today, I'm going to cover lateral security and what we call vDefend, all the way defense till ransomware, and our Avi Load Balancer. So we've been talking to customers, we talk to them all the time, but specifically over the last year, and we found that our customers want more scale, because as they are deploying our products, they want our software-defined product to run at a higher scale. So we'll talk about it, what have we done in scale and throughput in our products. They also wanted to tell them, give them more visibility and analytics in real time, so they can more easily deploy the product and operate it. And of course, what are we doing in GenAI? Because I went to the Gartner Security Summit in June in Washington, D.C. It was all about ransomware and generative AI. Generative AI both in the wrong way, how attackers are using it, and how product vendors like ourselves should use generative AI to improve our products. So we'll cover some of those topics today. There's a disclaimer on our roadmap, but moving ahead. So first, it's our vDefend product, right? This is our lateral security product, east-west security. That's where we shine. And we provide full inbuilt visibility, micro-segmentation, and threat prevention in this tool all the way. There are two SKUs, firewall and advanced threat protection SKUs to cover this. The other one is the Avi Load Balancer. It's a versatile load balancer with built-in automation and scale out, very easy to use, very easy to deploy. And those are our two products. Both the products are built with cloud principles in mind. So, we talked about VCF and how we're trying to build the private cloud with the Broadcom VMware product portfolio. So this fits in very well into that. And with hardware load balancers and firewalls, you just can't get the cloud principles. But with our software-defined architecture, not only do you get the cloud principles, but you can operate at speed, right? You can deploy everything quickly, you can turn it down, and it really fits in nicely. So when it comes to VCF, we feel that the vDefend security product and the Avi Load Balancer are the best products for applications deployed on top of VCF. And then, there are tremendous customer benefits too. With our products as being part of VCF, when you're deploying applications, you can deploy them at speed. When it comes to security and load balancing, you can operate at scale. And you can also diagnose quickly, because for each one of the products, we have built-in analytics and visibility. For security, it's security intelligence, and for Avi, it's Avi analytics. So given our product portfolio, our feature functionality, and all the built-in visibility analytics, our customers are drastically able to lower their TCO and derive that benefits. First, let me cover the vDefend product. So, attacks are happening everywhere. That was pretty much in the Gartner Summit. And ransomware attacks breaches are going on. And sometimes customers might not publicly say it, but when you meet them in private, they have been attacked and they have been compromised, and sometimes they don't even know because nobody's yet given them the ransomware note as yet. So that's happening all the time. And the thing to see is, it's not just the ransomware cost, there's a lot of other hidden costs behind it. Because it's very time consuming, your reputation goes down, and it's very, very expensive to recover from ransomware attacks. Some customer got compromised. Yeah, they only had to pay $23 million in ransomware, but they lost over $1 billion over the time period because they had to redo their entire strategy. Clearly, whatever they were doing wasn't working for them. So very, very expensive, and you don't want to get into the situation. Hey, we have insurance, we are okay. No, you're not okay. Don't get ransomware. So what has changed in the industry? Attacks are happening faster, they're getting more complicated, and the attackers, they are smart. They can also use GenAI, they can use a co-pilot, and those things are beautiful. They tell you what to do. They can even tell you how to attack more easily. So the attacks are only increasing and they're becoming faster. Instead of compromising you in 3 months, 6 months, they can do it in half an hour, 1 hour. So very, very critical that you protect all your applications properly. But I think some of the challenges our customers face is, one is they don't have enough security staff, and they bought these different products, security products, which don't gel together as a single product. So they are the ones who have to take something from this product, feed it to the second product and the third product. And then invariably, humans are humans. You don't get full comprehensive security. And that's where we say you have to protect everything. All workloads are important because, attackers can easily hop from one application to the other application, and finally they find the real workload they want to compromise, then you get ransomware. So it's very, very essential you protect everything and you have a comprehensive solution. So first of all, you need a comprehensive solution with visibility, microsegmentation, and threat prevention. On top of that, that solution has to be easy to deploy and roll out. Okay, we have a fantastic security solution. We don't have enough staff. It'll take us 2 years to deploy. Lo and behold, you're going to get compromised before that. So you need a solution and an architecture which works for you quickly. So you have to choose the right security architecture, and it's very important to think it through a bit and not go piecemeal, right? So let's look at an airport terminal where all of us, when we flew into Vegas, we went through some security checks. What happened? You walked in, they checked your ID, they checked your boarding pass, but that's not it. After that, you couldn't board the plane. Then they, scanned your baggage, any dangerous content, otherwise they'll make you open the baggage, they'll check again. Then you think you can board any plane? No, you try to go to the wrong plane and try and board it, you're not allowed. You can only go to your own plane and board that plane. So multiple layers of checking. You don't trust anyone, you check again and again. This is how hijacking incidents over the years have come down, because you don't trust anybody in an airport. This is exactly how we need to behave with ransomware. We don't trust anybody. Anybody can attack from any direction and come multiple ways. So our threat protection has to be a multi-layer defense, and you must have zero trust lateral security in place. Otherwise, you're not protected. Now we find some customers, for whatever reasons, everybody has a perimeter firewall. And they feel safe because they lock the front door. Let me just warn you that the attackers will feast on such customers because they know they can get in and compromise you very, very easily and very quickly. So if you have any assets which are to be compromised, they will find you and compromise you. Now let's look at how does a ransomware attack happen in the end. First of all, a host gets compromised or infiltrated due to software vulnerability or malicious file download. Then the attacker moves laterally from one host to the other host till they find the data which they are looking for, they encrypt it and exfiltrate it. So there are multiple steps. You just do one layer of protection, you are not safe at all. So what do you need to do? You need a multi-layer defense, and you need products which can stop these different steps at each level. Because one product doesn't do everything. A firewall doesn't do everything. IDS, IPS doesn't do everything, and neither does NTA and DR. So that the right place, you have to have the right product so that you can stop the attacks. So in our case, you have the gateway firewall, sandbox, and IDS, IPS to do the step one. You have the distributed firewall to stop the lateral movement for the attacker. And this is a product with microsegmentation, has been heavily deployed by our customers, and we've had it for 10 years, right? It sits in the hypervisor, it's very easy to use, and is comprehensive in nature. The same vDefend technologies can then defend against the data exfiltration and stop that data from going out. So now you see different products protected, but you're still not done. While the attack is happening, we need to stop it. If we went all the way at the end, they still got away with something. So while the attack is going on, the attackers leave some signatures along the way. So you can correlate those signatures. And as you're correlating the signatures before they get to the final step, you should stop them. And later on, we'll talk with generative AI how we're going to help you to stop that final phase of the attack from happening. So in our case, we have vDefend security. This is the perfect solution for multi-phase security protection. It's an integrated security stack. What do I mean by that? We have the functionality, distributed firewall, IDS, IPS, security intelligence, NT, NDR. But the layers talk amongst themselves through APIs. Human intervention is not needed. You're not cutting and pasting policies from one security tool to the other. We'll make the calls ourselves. We know what to do. So this is how proper security needs to run, because as soon as humans get involved, nothing wrong, but you don't have enough staff to do it on a regular time. Or you came on Monday and saw something attacked. Too late. Already somebody's walked away with your assets because there was no one to take care of it on the weekend. And our product runs in the hypervisor. There is no tromboning of traffic needed, no custom hardware needed. So it's a perfect solution for these environments, especially if you're running VCF, because we are completely plug and play with that. Now, in security, there's a saying, if you can't see it, you can't protect it. So clearly, we have to be able to see the visibility. We have to be able to see the applications, who's talking to who, and then do the protection. And we also have, in the same console, we can show the threat analytics, right? If somebody's talking to something which is not correct, we can detect that, and we can cut it off. Because it's very easy to see, hey, why are you talking to this outside Empire agent or something? You need to cut it off. You need to cut off that traffic. But you have to know it. If you don't know it, you don't know what to do. And once you know this, suddenly you are more intelligent. But beyond that, what we want to do is we want to use AI, ML, and we want to give you the firewall rules, right? We can see all these weird connections which we think are not correct with the red dots and all that going on. We'll tell you what are the good firewall rules to use and where do you cut it off. So kind of you go from a whitelist model into a blacklist kind of a model. Sorry, the other way around. So you lock down the system over there completely once you know what to do. So it's very, very powerful. We show you what's going on, and everything is available through APIs. And then we can give you the rules, and with a click of a button, you can deploy the rules. Now, you may choose to write your own firewall rules, but we do recommend at least looking at our tool and looking at the suggestions. Maybe you can come up with more optimal rules, but at least this is a very, very good starting point. Most likely, this will have more optimal rules than the ones you'll write. Because we keep improving this with AI. And it's very, very easy to understand what's going on over here. So what have we been doing on the products and the innovation side? So all our customers are writing more and more applications are getting put in the data center. So the scale has to go up tremendously. For distributed firewall, we increase the scale for tagging, grouping, and firewall rules. Large customers had been asking us for some time. And so we didn't do a 10% improvement or a 15%. We just said, took a quantum leap over there, 2.5x, 10x, 1.7x. Huge improvement. Our sales team is very happy because now they can address their customer needs. So we are able to do that. The other thing is simplifying operations, right? Because simplicity is a number one priority for us also, because our customers have trouble operating the systems. So that's where we come up with some nice dashboards which make the firewall operation much easy. We are also working on firewall rule impact analysis. Sometimes we find our customers have written their firewall rules. Over time, they've gone up. Some of them are not needed. And we are able to do some analysis and remove like 50% of the rules from there, and without impacting the security. And there are some advanced areas also where we can do optimize. And the way it'll be done is there's a mathematical proof to it. We're not doing some empirical kind of voodoo over here, because this has to be mathematically correct. So this tool is coming out. Engineers are working hard at it. The other area is, there's always attacks happening, and people want to have HIPAA and PCI compliance. How do you guard against that? That's where customers like our IDS, IPS tool, it has the signatures for the vulnerabilities, and they are able to protect against that. And we have a distributed architecture. So you can deploy it widely. Usually IDS, IPS appliances don't scale because they sit on the edge. They can't handle the heavy traffic. So that's where it comes in. Despite our distributed nature, we also felt the need. We have to increase the performance, and that's happening very significantly. 2x to 3x higher performance. We'll have upwards of 10 gig per host IDS, IPS performance coming out. I won't tell you the exact time, but it's coming out. It's in the works. So the other areas are some of our customers have these requirements, right, that everything has to run on-prem. So in their case, they want air-gapped products because they have these requirements. They are federal customers, or it could even be a banking customer. Everything needs to be run air-gapped. So our NDR product is already air-gapped. We are working on a network sensor for bare metal workloads, which will also be air-gapped. And similarly, for malware prevention, where files are downloaded, they have malicious content, and then malware spreads. We are working on our sandboxing tool to bring it on-prem, and that'll happen in the near term. One other thing we are working on is fileless malware. This is in-memory infections. How do you protect against that? Because you name it, and attackers are doing all kinds of things. So we need to defend against all the various options in which the attackers will attack you all. And we will give air gap for every feature going forward, and not just a SaaS version or something. That is the last point, the sandboxing. Everything else can run on-prem, and after that, we only take signatures feed from the cloud. So if you look at it, vDefend is a single integrated stack. How do you compare it with other vendors, right? If you were trying to do with tools from other vendor security products, you would go to an NDR vendor, get their product, firewall vendor, get their product, micro-segmentation vendor, get their product. All three products, first of all, they're from different vendors. They work differently, you troubleshoot differently, you configure them differently, and they don't talk to each other. It's a nightmare, and because it's a nightmare, you can't get the same proper security. In our case, it's all integrated. One single console, one policy layer, same policy language. It rather works in a very clean fashion. As you want to turn on the more advanced features, those policies show up, and those UI constructs show up, and you can turn them on. So tremendous value we get from our vDefend, and just with some simple firewall rules or micro-segmentation, you can protect 79% of your traffic. But if you go to even more advanced, if you're a more advanced user, you can even get higher coverage. It doesn't stop at 79%. And it's 48% faster to deploy and increase productivity because your developers are no longer waiting for 2 months to get the security set up over there. It can happen much faster through our policy layers. So let's talk about AI, ML, and GenAI, right? That was the other hot topic when I went to the Gartner Summit. So our security intelligence has been using AI for a long time because we create what is an application, we look at the flows, from there we can come up with the firewall rule recommendations, and then the NTA-NDR looks at all the signatures and the signature feeds, and from there it figures out what is the threat campaign. So we are able to do that. But when it comes to advanced security, or that's where SecOps people are under the pressure, because that's behavioral analytics. Those are attacks you think something is going wrong, but you're not 100% sure. You're not 100% sure because that attack never happened before, so you don't have a well-known signature for it. So how are you going to determine those attacks? And they generate quite a few alerts. Even if we are good, it'll still generate quite a few alerts. And because the alerts are high, many times they're ignored. And for no good reason, because there isn't enough people to look at that. So we are building a GenAI Copilot to kind of reduce the number of alerts, give you context over there, and then also come up with the remediation policies. So we talked to some partner customers, and we have the tool ready for beta, and we are beginning to work with them, and they're really, really looking forward to this. At this time, I want to call Stein on stage to do a demo on the various items I talked about.
Perfect, thank you, Umesh. So, in this demo, we'll cover how a real ransomware campaign unfolds and how we can detect and prevent these advanced ransomware attacks. And a couple of the things that Umesh mentioned we'll be highlighting in the demo. We'll start with security intelligence to essentially turn on the lights and provide visibility. We'll use our intelligence assist Copilot to provide visibility and then explainability. We'll use NDR to correlate different aspects of the attack into a single campaign, and then we'll restrict lateral movement using the distributed firewall. So let's start by turning on the lights and visualizing what is not visual. In security intelligence, we're adding on threat assessment capabilities. And with the threat assessment, we can essentially generate a report that's going to tell you what is not visible, what is lacking in security in your environment. A couple of highlights in the report. Not going to go into too much detail, but we provide an executive summary. We've analyzed a whole bunch of traffic, and we noticed that all of the workloads in this environment are not protected, not micro-segmented. Obviously, there's an opportunity there for attackers to move laterally and an opportunity for us to apply the distributed firewall to defend and to prevent that lateral movement. We also see some command and control activity, highly suspicious, an 82 severity score, so some malicious activity is definitely happening. Now we go back to security intelligence, and we see here in this view that all of our workloads have not been segmented. We can also filter on threat events, so we're going to filter on this IDPS signature event that we saw earlier, and now we can see the details of that. We've detected the use of this command and control activity, iced ID, on a VDI desktop. So those are initial infection. Now what we can also do is we can click on our threat assessment or intelligent assist icon there, which is our co-pilot, in order to learn more about this specific threat in our environment. So we can interrogate our co-pilot or intelligent assist, and we're asking it to investigate this particular security incident. So as a NetSec admin, you can learn more about a threat, and this can enable you to have better conversations with the SOC team. We can ask, for example, to explain this particular event, and we'll get an explanation back from our co-pilot with even a hypothesis. So we're not just looking at a single event, we're also looking at other events that we've seen, and we, for example, determined this is likely the initial phase of a ransomware attack. We can learn more about the specific threat as well. This is iced ID, a banking Trojan, and what we can also do is we can ask about things like indicators of compromise. What should we look for in our environment when we go hunt for this particular threat? The final aspect that we want to show about our intelligent assist is the remediation capabilities. How can we remediate that? And through our intelligent assist, we can automatically apply essentially a virtual patch to prevent the activity that we've seen, to prevent that iced ID command and control activity. So we're creating the policy here, and we will be pushing that policy directly to our distributed IDPS and distributed firewall. Now we hand off our investigation to our SOC team. And the SOC team is using the NDR solution to correlate individual atomic signals. The signal that we just had from our IDPS, along with signals from malware detection, network traffic analysis, and network detection and response. So let me go back to that right there. And here you can see that on the left side, we've been able to correlate these atomic signals, and we map these to the MITRE attack framework. And this is what we see with modern-day ransomware campaigns. It's not only about encrypting files, it's also about exfiltrating critical data. So the attacker in this case had gained initial access through a VDI desktop, used RDP to move laterally, and then finally exfiltrated data and deployed the ransomware. Here we can showcase the correlation. So we see that we've seen the Nakayama ransomware deployed onto 2 file servers in our environment. Then when we look at one of our file servers, we see a bunch of different tactics and techniques that were utilized and a bunch of different threats that were affecting these workloads. And then finally, we can look at the details here. So let me look at the bottom. Here we see everything that was affecting our patient 0, or VDI desktop, the initial access, as well as discovery, port scanning activity that we've detected on the network. When we move up in the attack, we see lateral movement. This is where the attacker propagated the attack from the initial victim, the VDI desktop, down to our file servers. And they used RDP because RDP is so ubiquitously allowed within environments. Finally, they exfiltrated data out of the environment and deployed the ransomware on a file server and a backup server. And we can open up some of the details of these. So we can look at the exfiltration event, for example. And here we see that we were able to detect this as a network anomaly. Essentially, this is not based on the signature, but we were able to identify an unusually high number of file transactions from that particular workload, which is an anomaly. And we can determine that because we have visibility into all the traffic. Now let's have a look at the lateral movement event. And here we see that lateral movement happened over RDP. So RDP is a very common vector for lateral movement because it's ubiquitously allowed in environments. Obviously, if you think about the distributed firewall, it becomes very easy to block that vector, to block that RDP access. Also, with anomaly detection, we're able to build a baseline of normal, and we've been able to determine that RDP activity between this VDI desktop and that file server is not something normal in the environment. That's why we've been able to correlate this into our campaign, as you can see here. So NDR is all about correlating these atomic signals. Now, the next question, of course, is how do we stop this from happening in the future? How do we restrict lateral movement? And right now, our file servers and our backup servers have not been segmented. You can see that all the lines, all the flows between the workloads are in red, meaning no segmentation policy has been applied. Now we can use security intelligence to apply a micro-segmentation policy. We're selecting our workloads, and we're going to start the recommendation wizard. And this is going to give us the appropriate set of distributed firewall rules that we need to apply to our application in order to micro-segment the application. So no more manual work with spreadsheets or figuring out by talking to the application owners how the application is communicating. When we look at the recommended rules, we can see that we have a default deny at the end. Then we have a rule to allow the clients to communicate with our file servers with the backup servers, and shared services. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and publish that to the firewall rule table. And now when we look at our application, you should see that the flows that were previously not micro-segmented, not protected, are going to go to green, the flows that we want. And the unwanted flows, like the RDP and the exfiltration, those are going to be denied by our default deny firewall rule. Mesh?
Okay. Did you switch it back? Okay. Okay, thank you, Stein. I think you did a great job of showing very quickly how our tools works. I mean, we have a lot more features and functionality, but you saw sometimes how easy it is, the way Stein showed it visually. We do have APIs for everything. So with the Copilot, we can certainly speed up threat hunting. But if you look at it in summary, the ransomware attack cycle, we have all the parts to take care of it, right? We can identify what's going on, what are the gaps with security intelligence, what is not secure, then we can protect it, put firewall policies or gateway firewall, IDPS. Then we can detect if there's any attack going on through the NTA and DR, and finally we can respond to those threats. So we have the full life cycle and the feature set to take care of it in case attacks are happening. We also have, in case you do get compromised, we have VMware Live Recovery, and that tool lets you recover from a well-known backup, which is a snapshot. So in theory, we have good products over here for ransomware protection, malware prevention, and even basic firewalling, which you can easily deploy with our vDefend family. So moving on to the Avi Load Balancer. So this is, we bought Avi 5 years ago. It's a very robust, easy to use load balancer. Kind of can reduce the number of appliances you are managing in a very significant manner. It has basic auto scale out because it's software. Hardware load balancers really can't do it. But the big beauty and shining star in this is the built-in app latency analytics. And that part really helps you triage. When problems are happening, where are they happening? Is it somebody upgraded the application, somebody did something to the server, or it's in the internet? Today it's a mystery and can take a long time. And it kind of significantly improves application uptime. So a lot of business value, benefits over here, faster to deploy, higher productivity, and so on. So what have we done in the last year? We have made Avi very plug and play with the VCF stack. You can use the ARIA self-service automation. That's fully supported. You can also use Terraform and Ansible to automate Avi. And then for the operator side of the house, the network connectivity, the Avi Load Balancer, that is like done under the covers automatically. You don't need to do any network redirection. We figure out and do it. And the lifecycle management is now handled via this DDC manager, which is part of VCF. So this is the tool we are very proud about, the Avi application analytics, and I think the operational staff just love it. Whoever has deployed Avi can swear by this tool. If your app is tagged as green, you're in good shape. Nothing to worry about. Yellow, start worrying about it. Red, you're already in trouble and you have to rectify it. But the yellow is the proactive part. The latency is going up. We maintain time series. We can tell you it's going up. Better do something before somebody starts complaining this application is running like shit, and you better do something about it. So I think you see all the subsections we showed show the latency, and the appropriate team, along with the logs, can then go hunting. Who did some changes? What caused it? And this is probably the cause, and let's rectify it quickly. So very useful tool, very heavily used, and nobody else has a tool like this in a load balancer. So when it comes to Kubernetes, those workloads are dynamic in nature and can be, can happen anywhere in the infrastructure because developers can, spin up, spin down. So that's where another software-defined load balancer makes more sense than a hardware load balancer. And in our case, we are an ingress load balancer, layer 4, layer 7, WAF, all integrated into a single product versus trying to mish and bash, open source. You buy something from somebody else, and before you know, you wasted more time and money over there. And we support all the Kubernetes distributions. Now, when it comes to, usually people love our tool, love our demo, and also love the analytics visibility. When they get to deployment, they figure out, okay, how do I move the configuration from the legacy load balancer? And sometimes they have application rules which are there. How do we migrate them? So we build this tool which can which can convert the migrations and the application rules over in a very nice fashion. This tool is for free, and it's able to do 70% of the conversions. So people are finding, as they embark on this journey, they don't need to worry. Oh my God, how am I going to move this configuration over? It's going to take me 2 years. No, it's not necessarily. And if you give us your rules without mentioning, I think everybody understood which rules I'm talking about. By now, if you give us that information, our engineering team is happy to take that in and feed it into the tool and come up with the right conversions. So we are doing this for very large customers, including Broadcom IT is using this tool. So we have very large deployments with the Avi product, and we continue to make improvements in scale and throughput. But what are we looking at? SSL performance is going up. We are using a QAT functionality in the new Intel CPUs. We'll get 3x the performance and no cost increase, improving WAF. With VCF9, we'll have the VPC functionality support. But one more thing, there's another Copilot we are building, not the NT-NDR Copilot, but this is more for operations. You don't have to necessarily call our GSS people. You can use this Copilot, tell you like, hey, how do I configure this feature? It'll tell you easily. How do I troubleshoot this feature? It'll tell you easily what's going on. So we are working on that. It's a work in progress, but we'll have that Copilot at some time. At this time, back to you.
All right, thank you, Umesh. Switching over the screen. All right, there we go. So as Umesh mentioned, traditional load balancers really have been serving traditional applications quite well for decades. But there's challenges with that. Manual provisioning, manual management, lack of visibility for troubleshooting are all of the challenges that our customers are seeing with these traditional load balancers. So today we really need to be able to provision load balancers with the speed of applications. We need an API-first approach when it comes to load balancing, as well as security and the rest of our networking. We also need self-healing capabilities in order to help us get to the root cause way faster than with the traditional approach. So in this demo, I'll be showing a couple of things. I'll be showing the day 0 to day in application delivery capabilities of Avi and the integration with SDDC Manager. And then I'll show a few other things as well. So, we can deploy the Avi Load Balancer directly from the SDDC Manager. And this is new capabilities that we have added in VCF 5.2. So all we really need to do is we need to select a couple of parameters, the size of the Avi Load Balancer, or settings, IP address, and so on, and we can start the deployment. So, very easy directly from the SDDC Manager. And now again, you can see it's also integrated. You can cross-launch the UI directly from the SDDC Manager. Next, we're going to look at day 1 operations. We're going to look at the integration with area management. So now that the Avi controller has been deployed from the SDDC Manager, we can register the Avi controller directly with area automation in order to provide load balancing as a service from a catalog directly to our application owners. Essentially, area is going to provide, or Avi is going to provide area automation with an integration where the admin can choose to deploy blueprints on demand in a self-provisioning or in a ticketed system with approvals as well. So here we have the application admin selecting the catalog that we just looked at. Now we just configure a couple of parameters, choose if we want to enable SSL, select the NSX security group, and as a result, our VIPs or virtual service will automatically be provisioned. Finally, troubleshooting, very important, the analytics screen that you're looking at right here, we're able to essentially eliminate visibility and dashboard fragmentation due to the service-defined architecture of Avi, where we have a hybrid control plane, a centralized management plane, and a distributed data plane. So that makes it easy to troubleshoot issues across the environment. Here we're looking at our e-commerce application that we looked at earlier as well. And you can see the health score here at 62 is pretty bad. So there is an issue that is going on. So then we can click on that in order to further troubleshoot and see what is happening. So the Avi Analytics dashboard here at the top provides essentially end-to-end timings of the application. This is from the client to the load balancer, and then from the load balancer all the way to the application. We can also find anomalies, and if you look at the screen, you can see there's definitely an anomaly happening here. We have a lot longer response time that is happening. And from here, we can look at the logs, and any load balancer can generate a ton of logs, and you may easily be overwhelmed by logs, but not all logs are born equally. Some logs matter to you, some don't. So what we can do with the advanced analytics capabilities with Avi is we can proactively show you the logs that matter, and we can also filter. In this case, I'm filtering on SSL, and we can see the response times are really high for SSL, opening up the specific service, and you can see that here, the reason for these issues that we're seeing is that all of these requests for SSL are going to one particular server. So that makes it really easy then for the team to focus in and find the root cause of this particular issue. Now that we've seen the strong integration of the Avi Load Balancer with the SDDC manager and with the VCF stack, we've seen troubleshooting capabilities. Let's also look at our Copilot a little bit, and this is where we can make troubleshooting even easier. We can interrogate the Copilot and find out more about the issues that we've seen. For example, here we can see that we've seen that the traffic coming into our application is not typical for a Saturday. So we're analyzing the logs, we're analyzing the metrics in order to find these anomalies in the environment. We've identified other issues as well. We've identified an excessive number of 400 responses, and we've seen interface errors on our load balancer. So that's what we find. Now, what else do we have, right? I mean, we can ask, have you seen any traffic from unsupported locations? There may be locations throughout the world with which then we're not doing any business. No need for us to be able to accept these connections into our load balancer. So we can interrogate our Copilot and ask it if there are any connections from unknown locations, unsupported locations. There are a bunch. And then we can also ask our Copilot for the appropriate remediation to that. And in that case, we're going to apply a network security policy that's going to block the incoming traffic from these unsupported locations. We can then check the status. Has the policy been applied? And is any traffic hitting our firewall rule that is going to block the traffic from these unsupported locations? And that is the Avi demo.
Switch to the back.
Oh, yep.
At this time, let me welcome Matthew and Tyler to the stage. They are our esteemed customers, and we want to learn from them how they're using our products and what advice do they have for us. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, sir.
So, okay. So first question for you, Tyler. You run at a healthcare institution. What security challenges did you all have and IT face around the application traffic, and how did you deal with that?
Well, healthcare, like everybody in the room, has a lot of data that people want. It's valuable data on the dark web, and securing that is a massive challenge. And so any of these tools that we can take and apply layers in a holistic manner are kind of an imperative approach for us. We have to utilize them, and we have to do it in a way that's effective and streamlined.
Matthew, you're at a large Canadian financial institution. In your case, what were the challenges, and what did you find you could do with our tools?
Well, Desjardins' application landscape is always changing. New VMs provisioned every day, new firewall rules requested every hours. It's very difficult to keep track of the business projects in a segmented network. UMesh, the security policy is pretty much like the big cloud monster in Stranger Things, the shadow monster. It's briefing, it's growing, it's difficult to contain, but we're doing great.
So how are you finding that the vDefend solutions are meeting, you mentioned about the policy and you're able to leverage that. What else are you able to leverage from vDefend for your environment?
Well, NSX Firewall, formerly vDefend, is positioned in a special place in our network. It's directly inside the private cloud. So it can permit, drop, inspect traffic where our next generation firewalls won't due to network topology or architecture constraint.
Similar question for you, Tyler. How are you finding it? Addressing your needs?
We've been working primarily in the distributed firewall. We've been spending the time that's necessary to build the rule sets, do the discovery of our applications, and proving that it effectively works.
Okay.
It's a process.
It's a process, but it's worth doing. And if you do penetration testing, it's easy to show the value. And in certain situations, our VDI environment, for instance, 2 rules. We needed 2 rules. We protected that workload from each other. Very powerful, instantaneous 2 rules, no VDI to VDI. That's a huge protection plane that everybody could do if that was their specific workloads. We couldn't have done that another way.
Okay. So you've seen our roadmap and you've seen it in more detail at CTAB, et cetera. So given that, do you have any guidance for us on the security side? Hey, are we on the right track? Are we solving the kind of problems you all see? Do we meet your requirements next year, following year? Are we on the right track?
Well, first of all, we're no longer using IP addresses, so that's a fact. It's very helpful. We're saving plenty of time in the delivery processes. Sometimes my team is not even involved in the delivery of virtual machines, which accelerates the whole provisioning process. But we're looking also at identity firewall, which will enable us to open security flows to known users instead of dealing anymore with subnets at the access layer. Inspections in the roadmap as well, because we understand that lateral movement, even within permitted flow, can happen if we are a victim of attacks. So your layer 7 policies are in the works as well, because we no longer want to rely on porting protocols. We need to understand the traffic patterns and block what's not required. You see, we have an important IoT footprint, so zero trust is very important for us.
Tyler, advice from you?
Yeah, I mean, similar with the layer 7, the context profiles, we look at our segmentation from the perspective of, we approach it from micro, but sometimes you can't figure that out. So you try it, try and implement the context profile. It doesn't work at the time. That's okay. Do port and protocol, move on to your next application or infrastructure. Every layer of protection that you put in narrows the number of flows and things that you have to look in elsewhere, and you can come back and inspect further. I think takeaways for us that we've seen from the conference with the release of VCF 9 and that entire stack, I know it's going to be a lot of work for us to move to VCF, but the ability to layer in the other aspects of the security stack, IDS, IPS, those things at the VNIC layer across our entire environment, which is 98% plus virtualized, being able to do that from that single console, and all of our operators understanding that's where it's all driving from. It's a very, very powerful potential tool for us.
Okay, thank you. So changing gears and now questions to you, Tyler. What are your current Avi use cases and deployments, and how are you finding it to use Avi?
Avi, I think, was somewhat of like our kind of secret golden find from VMware. We had, well, I don't need to name the names of the load balancers that we used, but we had a load balancer that was legacy, vulnerabilities. We could operate it, but we didn't feel confident. Avi was brought to us. Our engineer, Dave, that's in the audience today, it was, I think, a total of a 6-hour deployment for us. We're not very large, but it makes sense and it works, and the visibility it provides is there. So we're using it for the WAF features. We're doing load balancing with it. We're using it for visibility for our firewall rule sets for the services that it's fronting. With that extended logging that was shown in the demo, you get way more information around the applications that the vendors maybe aren't going to tell you. And so it's been more than just a load balancer for us.
Okay, fantastic. Are you guys looking at any future requirements for load balancer like Kubernetes and other areas, or that's still work in progress?
I think that's still a work in progress.
Okay.
We're really focused on the bread and butter of it, see where it can add security layers to other applications. You may not have an app server that needs load balancing, but the WAF in front of it, you can ask for higher levels of encryption of the clients. You can take a legacy app that, the vendor's not going to iterate. They're not going to provide more security, and between NSX and then with that load balancer front, with that VIP, you can put controls in to bring it to security levels that are perfect.
Okay. Matthew, going back to you, any final words of wisdom to our rest of your customers and friends over here? Hey, how they can see value from the vDefend product?
Well, if you can't, actually, if you don't have to use IP addresses, don't use them.
Okay. Tyler, between Avi and vDefend, any words of advice? And you saw we talked about 2 co-pilots. One was for the threat mitigation, and the other one was the operation side. Would you use those kind of co-pilots once we have it? Would you trust them?
Yeah, I think from the co-pilot perspective, the intelligence component is something that we definitely see a huge amount of value in helping us iterate those rules, especially we're small, we're not like Matthew, but the rules come, applications are going to keep coming, and you're going to need to iterate. And so having something that can help you identify that faster, identify old rules that you can clean up, we definitely would use it.
Okay.
There's a lot of value into rule hygiene.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll continue to listen to valuable customers like yourself, others in the audience, and other we met at CTAB this week. And a lot of fantastic conversations going on with conversations on the side we've already got. Army wants this feature sped up, somebody else wants another feature. We'll take that into account, and hopefully all of you can benefit, and we can make security and load balancer much better in your environments. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining
Thank you.
me on stage. Thank you so much. So in conclusion, I'll say, we see a private cloud as a big focus for Broadcom VMware. We have the best security solution and the best load balancing solution and architecture for VCF, and we are proud of that. Whatever little items were missing, we have filled those holes, and then we are going to innovate at a rapid pace in these features. Just because we are Broadcom, don't assume we are not going to have new feature functionality. We are going at a furious pace, and I'm a technical person from my background, so I love technology, and we push very hard on new stuff. And it delivers great business value, and we continue to be successful thanks to all of you. Thank you so much for your time today, and please do take the survey, and thank you so much.